Welcome everyone to another edition of Willow's Weather Briefing. Today is Friday, May 30th, 2025. Today we have a risk of severe thunderstorms for much of the East Coast, including the Piedmont region to the coastal plain, primarily for damaging winds and large hail, but we do have a localized tornado risk right here around central Virginia to north central Carolina. We also have a slight risk of flash flooding around the eastern Ohio Valley over to the mid-Atlantic region. And today we also have reduced air quality up here in the upper Midwest due to these pretty significant Canadian wildfires. The atmosphere is going to just advect some of that smoke down here into the upper Midwest. We also have a heat wave beginning in the west today. Pretty significant, but also pretty short-lived. Temperatures probably up to the mid-hundreds from. Other than that, pretty dry for much of the western and central United States. Today on satellite, we have a bit of disturbed weather here in Texas and also portions of Midwest, Great Lakes region, and also some departing storms. So we actually have some pretty dense storm reports from yesterday. It was upgraded to an enhanced risk, mainly hail, and you can see some of that hail over here in these regions here. That was yesterday's. Sorry. Yesterday, we had a dense region of tornado and hail reports just over here. Very, very localized, but that 30% hail risk was around there. So pretty good forecast by the SPC. Actually, something interesting that I didn't mention before on 528, we had a pretty good hailstorm that went through the Austin metro area. Very high, what we call reflectivity values. So there wasn't many giant hail, but there was a lot of large, around 1.5 to 2 inches, a lot of that falling in the Austin metro area, and the videos were pretty impressive to say the least. So here are our current watches and warnings. We have a bunch of heat advisories over here west. We even have an excessive heat warning over here in southern Nevada, over here in the southeastern California region, generally the lower Great Basin. And we also have the air quality alerts over here in the upper Midwest associated with that Canadian wildfire smoke. Flash flood watches and watches over here in the southern Texas region, some severe there. Also, we do have a flood watch over here near the DC area to the central Appalachia over to Jersey. We have a new drought monitor look over here. It was released yesterday, and the solid lines demarcate the areas of most significant drought. New areas include the Pacific Northwest region here in Oregon to southwestern Washington. We also have I believe this is a new drought or expanded drought over here. But we should see a depletion of that drought, of course, with this excessive rainfall that's coming into that. Is our surface chart. We have a broad region of high pressure, which will bring us, of course, clear weather into this region, also helping to push that cold front down to the southeast. Current low pressure system sitting over the eastern Ohio Valley right now, of course, bringing the excessive rainfall to these regions draped across this front. And the severe weather here will be associated with the front pushing through into the eastern United States. Over here tomorrow, that cold front associated with that low pressure system moves off to the east. Another cold front just behind it, kind of reinforcing that cold air into the upper Great Lakes region. That's associated with this low pressure system sitting across the St. Lawrence. Finally, day 3 on Sunday, pretty messy frontal look here, but that cold front continues to push southeast, but sort of stalling boundary over here in the west. Some warmer temperatures coming for these regions. So day 1, slight risk of excessive rainfall over here from the eastern Ohio Valley over to Delmarva region, New Jersey. So we mainly have a slight risk here, possibly up to 3 inches of rainfall in some patchy areas. Also, especially for areas such as Charleston, DC, Baltimore, Philadelphia, you're all in the slight risk of excessive rainfall. That will bring good drought relief, but watch out for flooded roadways. That flash flooding risk translates to the northeast associated with that low pressure system moving up there. Day 3 Sunday, not much except marginal risk of rainfall over here in Arizona. That might be due to the tropical storm that just formed, Tropical Storm Alvin just formed over the eastern Pacific Basin. So that marginal risk actually might be associated with the remnants of Tropical Storm Alvin, our first official uh, tropical cyclone for our basins over here that affect us. Expansive marginal risk over here in the northern plains, northern Great Lakes, the northern tier. This is associated with an incoming shortwave, the upper air shortwave, and that will bring us some surf next week. Same thing with here, day 5, continuation of that rainfall. Elevated fire weather risk, or that's tomorrow, sorry. Isolated dry thunderstorm risk over here in southeastern Arizona to western New Mexico today. Tomorrow, we have an elevated fire risk for Port Washington, northeast Oregon, also around here, northeast California, northwest of southern Oregon. Looking at our severe weather outlook today, we have a slight risk over much of the eastern seaboard, over here from the Piedmont all the way to the coastal plain. Our main risks are going to be damaging wind and large hail, but we also have an all hazards risk over here in this area of northern North Carolina and Virginia. This includes cities such as Raleigh, Greensboro, Winston-Salem, Richmond. But generally, all hazards are expected, especially large wind, damaging wind, and large hail. Tomorrow, nothing above marginal is expected. Some scattered thunderstorms across these areas. Same thing for day 3 Sunday. Finally, our extended severe weather outlook here. Day 4 Monday. We have a 15% risk over here in the plains, and 5, we have a slight risk over central to southern plains on Tuesday. Day 4, expecting primarily damaging wind and large hail. Day 5 seems a bit more robust. We have a little bit more upper level support here, so maybe get an all hazards threat, perhaps a little bit more. It'll still need to be ironed in terms of the specifics of this risk. Looking at our heat for the US today. Our heat begins in the Central Valley of California to the Central and Southern Great Basin. Temperatures over here are expected to be around the mid hundreds pretty much throughout the area, except portions of the lower elevations of the Southern Great Basin. We all know this region as the Death Valley region, very low elevation, so hotter temps over there, possibly in the high hundreds too. That heat will migrate east for just a little bit. Midwest might get a glancing blow of some above average temperatures, but that will quickly deplete with the passage of that cold front. But heat returns in areas such as southern Texas and southwestern Louisiana, with temperatures moving back to the 90s, some portions well into the 90s, perhaps into the hundreds, such as Texas. Here's our extended range hazards outlook. Patches of flooding or heavy rain possible in all these areas, and also the severe earlier, and of course the hazardous heat returning to southern Texas. Here's our 6 to 10 day temperature outlook, above average for much of the eastern United States, especially portions of New England and Klondike region, and also above average for much of the Gulf Coast. Near normal or below or just above average for, much of the western. 6 to 10 day precipitation above average for much of the central United States, below average for portions of Oregon, California, and Nevada, but near normal. So here is our HREF model. Don't have our new run yet, so we'll have to deal with this one. But generally, for our severe weather risk today, we'll see a early start for the western portion of this area, perhaps as early as 10 a.m. Eastern, but the more robust weather threat won't come to fruition until the mid-afternoon when we get that maximum heating from the sun. So of course, we're worried about that 5% risk region, all hazards, possibly supercells over there, some spinning thunderstorms, which will increase risk for that area. Expecting the storms to reach the highest risk areas perhaps at around 3 p.m. And this will all reach around the I-95 corridor around 4 to 5 p.m. So that is going to be it for today. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like and subscribe. If you have any constructive criticisms, please leave them down below in the comments. And of course, if you want any specific information regarding your area, please refer to your local National Weather Service or broadcast meteorologist. Thank you and have a great day.